A look ahead for Arizona basketball, who is staying, who is going, and a possible big-time commitment later today.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. The show is brought to you today by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, we're going to talk about the roster coming up. We are going to talk about players moving on, players staying, and what exactly we should be looking at. The first one, though, that we're going to talk about is Braden Burries. He is going to be committing tonight. I would expect him to go to the University of Arizona. We will break all of that down, though, tomorrow when the opportunity arises. So we will get into that. Let's talk a little bit then about what next year's roster is going to look like and some of the players going on. Now, the first one, obviously, KJ Lewis is moving on. I like KJ Lewis. I'm bigger on KJ Lewis than most folks. But at the same time, I am okay with I am more than okay with him moving on. This was a situation this is a situation where he can do some really good things. I mean, let's be honest. I like him. He can do some really good things for your squad, but he's also going to do some maddening things as well. And he can't shoot. But again, I'm going to put this like this. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Arizona could do better. Arizona could do this. Arizona could do that." At the end of the day, Arizona still has a guy who just can't really, again, just made some really bad decisions, but he could get you 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 4 steals, things like that. But he's easily replaceable. Wish him nothing but the best. Very curious to see where he goes. That one's going to be a fascinating one for me. Then the next one is Henri Veesaar, although I'm not closing the book on Henri Veesaar yet. Could he go to North Carolina? Yeah, sure. He could definitely go to North Carolina, and I don't think that anybody would have been surprised by this one at all because, again, he's a really, like I said, he's a good basketball player. But I also think that there's a chance that Arizona gets him back. We will see how that does play out. But overall, it's a good roster. And he is, if he comes back, I think it's a team that can win a national championship. If he doesn't come back, it is what it is. So there's that. We will see how this does play out. Now, the other thing too that I think you look at and you're like, all right, what does Carter bring? What does Carter Bryant bring to all of this? If you get Carter Bryant back, then it's game on because Carter can be really, really, really good. He is, and I thought this from day one, is that if Carter comes back, he can be the player that he can go from being like the 22nd pick in the draft to being like the 7th pick in the draft. I mean, he's got that type of potential to him. He's really, really good. I think that, and my buddy Brogan made this point too, and I think it's spot on, that the one thing that you want to be able to see is what is the, if you're drafted 22nd, for example, a team doesn't have a real reason to keep you in there if you don't play well, because nobody's going to look at it and say, man, the 22nd pick in the draft, and Carter's young. We all know that Carter is really, really young. We know that, but a team doesn't have a real impetus to keep you around if you're because you're the 22nd pick. If you're the 6th or the 7th pick, everything is going to be going in, and you're going to get every single chance in the book to be able to succeed, because there's way too many people that have your have a vested interest in you playing good basketball. That's it's just kind of the way it is. So there's obviously that. Then I think the other thing that you've got to really factor in with all of this is, where is Carter then with his with Arizona? If Carter's back for Arizona, he can be an All-American next year. He would be an amazing three-point shooter. And not only would he be an amazing three-point shooter, he would be somebody that you watch and you're like, okay, you can block shots. Maybe you start to create a little bit off the bounce. You can do a lot of different things that people maybe otherwise didn't, otherwise didn't see. That's kind of where I'm at with that. But it's an interesting proposition because you get a lot more margin for error. I've always felt at the end of the day, the teams that have the most margin for error the team that has the most margin for error are teams that, at the top end, they can block shots. And that's something that I think Arizona needs. I think with Arizona, Carter Bryant would do exactly that. And when I say exactly that, I say exactly that. He would be the guy that he can a weak side shot block. He can get rebounds. He can push it. He can do a lot of different things, and he'd be able to work on his ball handling as well. That's a big part of all this. His ball handling has to get better, and I think his ball handling would get better. He is like I said, he's a really good player, but I think that he could really use that. I think he could really use another year. But that would be the dream. If you could have a perimeter where you have Jaden Bradley at the point guard, then you have Braden Burries as your other point guard. You're recruiting them both as point guards, and then you have Carter Bryant. That is as good a perimeter as there is in the country. That is a loaded perimeter. That is a really, really good perimeter. And it checks off a lot of boxes. You would have two shooters in Burries and Carter Bryant. You would also have a pesky defender. You would have length. And again, I want to be clear though here when it comes to Carter Bryant, I have no clue. If you were to really push me here, I think it's probably 51-49 that he comes back, something like that. But at the same time, I don't know. He could easily go. I just know that he comes from a really, really good camp. And not only does he come from a really, really good camp, he's also a guy that you watch him and you're just kind of all right, he's not in a hurry and he's just young. You can tell he was raised right. You can tell that the people in his corner, good people all the way around. It's exciting to think about what he could do at that, with another year. So I'm excited. We'll see how that one does play out. But I'm a big fan of Carter. I'm a big fan of Carter going into next year. If you're able to get him back, like I said, I believe that he can be an All-American if he were able to do that. And I believe he could be a top 5 to 10 pick. We'll see how this all does play out. But either way, Braden Burries, Jaden Bradley, that's a dynamic backcourt. Now, we are also in the age where you got to hold on to Jaden Bradley. There's going to be people that will offer Jaden Bradley money, but I think what Arizona's got going for him is that they can pay him too. And he's a player that Arizona clearly very much values. He played 38 minutes this past year, and the family likes it. The Arizona coaching staff loves him. He is a tough, hard-nosed player, and just somebody that you watch and you're like, man, he's pretty darn good. He is a conducive basketball player to winning games. But that's kind of where it comes to with those three. You'd love to be able. I feel pretty confident that's going to be your backcourt, but you would absolutely love to get Carter in there. You get Carter in there, and then after that, it is a situation where everything just kind of comes into the fold. Now, the front court could be absolutely dynamic as well, and there's a new player in town. There's a new guy in town. But first, Monarch Money, my friends. Monarch Money. Okay, here's the deal here. Ever check your bank account and you wonder to yourself, where did all the money go? I do that all the time. I wish I had more money. But between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It is a complete financial command center. Yes, you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So you just stop managing your money, and you can get started building wealth. That's what it's all about. Building wealth. And again, they give you surprising insights, all-in-one convenience, easy collaboration. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Monarch Money, again, if you're looking at, you're like, man, I just really want to be able to get some, want to be able to get a little bit of extra spending money, or I just want to know where everything is. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com. Now, game time. All right, here's where it's at with game time. Imagine watching your favorite team, Arizona, and feeling the energy and everything that's going on in March Madness. March Madness is awesome. March Madness is intoxicating. We like March Madness. But getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where game time comes in. You got the Final Four right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen, right around the corner. Make it easier than ever to grab last-minute ticket seats at unbeatable prices. Here's the deal. Curation makes it easier to find better value for tickets at sports, comedy, theater. You can go through easy ticket shopping. You can go through not only easy ticket shopping, but you can get super deals, all kinds of stuff. Peace of mind with seats. And again, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, the great thing about Game Time, and we've been over this too, is that it's not just for sporting events, it's for tickets as well. Check it out. Game Time, my friend. Game Time. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit about where you are at. Oh, hold on. Let's talk a little bit about where Arizona's at in the front court. And Arizona is in a very, very good spot in the front court. And the first thing that you have to do, you have to be excited about, is getting Koa Peat. Listen, Tommy hasn't had a power forward like Koa Peat here, in that he's a game changer. He is a game changer extraordinaire. He is, again, he's a top 5 player in the class. Generally, when you're dealing with top 5 players in the class, you know that there is and they've been a top 5 player since they were a freshman in high school, and they don't budge. Everybody knows what Koa Peat can do. Now, is Koa Peat going to be the best player in the NBA? Probably not. But Koa Peat's going to play in the NBA for probably 12, 13 years. And with Koa Peat, the thing that you also have to be pretty excited about is he gives you some end of clock potential. He gives you the ability he can face the basket. And when he faces the basket, he's going to be able to take 1 or 2 power dribbles, and he's going to be able to get to the hoop, and he's going to be able to rebound. He's a very good passer. That's something that we need to factor in here as well. He is a very good passer, and he's going to make teams pay. If you double him, he's going to find the open man. He was a priority from day one for Arizona. And that's a massive, massive shout out to TJ Benson. TJ Benson did an amazing job with this recruitment. TJ is the man. And TJ also, you watch TJ and you can just kind of see that, he's going to have this in-state situation covered, and he's going to have this in-state situation covered pretty well. He is like I said, this is a situation for Arizona where you got to feel really, really good about things. Koa is going to play 30 minutes per game. He'll be here 1 year. He's probably going to average 14 points, 7 rebounds, something like that. And then he's going to go off to the NBA, and he'll probably be a top 10, top 12 pick. He's big, he's physical. And again, the thing about him, he just understands how basketball is. He understands how basketball is supposed to be played. He's like I said, he's just a really, really good basketball player. That's the best thing that I could say about him. And he gets it. His camp gets it. Arizona played the long game with Koa Peat, and it ended up with him. Certainly didn't hurt that you had Clutch with you as well. That's a very good situation. Arizona, though, is in a good spot at that power forward spot. Now, With Henri Veesaar, it's going to be interesting. Henry has obviously entered the portal. He's been linked to North Carolina. I get all of that, but I'm also going to sit here and say that I think that there's a chance that Henry comes back. Now, who knows? In 48 hours, he could be official to North Carolina. Who knows? I mean, these things move quick. But it also wouldn't surprise me in the least if he's ready and he's back next year. That wouldn't surprise me either. Henry is a. This one kind of took Arizona by surprise a little bit. And Henry is kind of your perfect five-man in that situation, in that he can block shots, he can rebound, he can shoot threes, and he can finish around the hoop. Now, finishing around the hoop, he can finish with dunks. He can finish with, he's not going to necessarily power you up, but Arizona did a lot of really good work with Henry. And I think that you're hoping that Henry can see that, and Henry can say, hey, man, I'm looking for this next year. I'm ready for this. If they can get him back, that'd be great. Now, if you don't, you're going to be just fine. Because again, one thing that we've discovered with Tommy Lloyd is that Tommy Lloyd is great when it comes to developing big men. When you look at Umar Ballo, leader of men, who, like I've always said, I never thought Umar was going to be much, and he turned out to be pretty darn good. 16 and 10, something like that. You also look at a player like not just Umar Ballo, leader of men, but you look at a player like who else we got here? You got somebody like you got somebody like Keyshawn Johnson, comes in averaging 5 and 5 from San Diego State, leaves here averaging 12 and 6 is on an NBA roster. You look at a Mount Crevis. I think he's going to be the next one. Tommy Lloyd loves Mount Crevis. Tommy Lloyd thinks Mount Crevis is going to be an absolute star. And, again, like I'm going to keep saying, if Tommy Lloyd thinks you're going to be a star, I'm going to trust Tommy Lloyd when it comes to big men, because he's shown that he knows it. I mean, just look at the development that Christian Coloco had. Christian Coloco went from being a player that, you're like, all right, is this guy ever going to be able to play? His hands are suspect. He's, to, man, Christian Coloco's a monster. And he was, and Tommy was able to do a lot of that. And I think that's a real tip of the cap to Tommy and what he was able to do. So we'll find out. But like I said, I'm excited to see what the next step is for Tommy and for Arizona basketball. But if he's in on Mount Crevis, then I'm in on Mount Crevis. Now, the other one too, you'd love to get back is Tobe Awaka. If Henry leaves, you'd love to have Tobe back, because Tobe is you win basketball games with Tobe Awaka. He is a really good basketball player. You win basketball games with him. But the thing that I think you need to, also look at, though, is that he's going to have other opportunities to be able to make more money somewhere else. It's just going to be on Arizona to try to be able to say, hey, we value you. 25 minutes per game. You saw, unlike in Tennessee, we played you and you were a big part of it. That's going to be a big part. You bring back Tobe Awaka, and I think you're like, whoa, this thing could be a preseason #1 team. But again, there's a lot to unfold there. We'll see what happens. The first one with Emmanuel Stephen has moved on. I like Emmanuel Stephen, but I also don't think that Emmanuel Stephen was going to be a game changer next year. I liked his long-term potential. I thought it was super odd that he insisted on not redshirting this past year, being that he wasn't going to play. But, a kid wanted to play. It is what it is. So Emmanuel Stephen has entered the portal, and we'll see where he ends up. I like Stephen. I just think that he should have probably played the long game there, but that's not for everybody. I get it. But either way, the roster is looking very, very nice for the University of Arizona, and it's going to this is all going to play out just fine for the Wildcats. You have my word on that one. Now, there is also kind of an elephant in the room that we need to discuss here in just a second. Somebody that probably won't play a ton next year, but he's going to have an outsized impact on Arizona. But first, Supply House. Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the sites made for the skilled trade. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest products to help you get the job done right. If you're like me, Yeah, and you're like, man, I need some help with this. Supply House says, look no further. We've got you covered. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Again, you don't have to wait forever with this stuff. That's what's great about it. Need help with an order? Supply House expert support and industry leading service. So you'll always talk to a real person. That's the other thing. You don't have to talk with some guy with that you're like, I can't even understand what you're saying. You're going to talk with a real person, not a robot, something like that. Now, here's the great thing. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start using plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Again, shop supplyhouse.com for all your plumbing, HVAC, and electrical product needs. Use code SH5 for 5% off your first order. Supply House. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk about Bryce James and all of this. Now, Bryce James is probably not going to play much next year. I mean, he's a mid 3-star player, but there's also some misconceptions around LeBron James and his son. I think there's this idea that LeBron is this helicopter parent. He's not. Bryce James doesn't even start for his high school team. Bronny didn't start at USC. He's not this helicopter parent that's going to tell you what to do. Arizona's got a very good relationship with the James family. That's obviously a great thing. The other thing too that you got with Arizona is you also know that when it comes to Bryce James, he's with Clutch. LeBron James is with Clutch. Bryce James and Braden Burries are very close. That is a good thing. That's a very good thing. All those guys together, they're like I said, they like each other. They get along very, very well. Bryce James is a player that he also has some long-term development that he could be a good player here. But watching him, you got Koa Peat, you've got Braden Burries. They're both with Clutch. It's very good to be with Clutch right now because if you're Arizona, that's the biggest name going. And if you can be attached to LeBron James, that's a good situation. It's going to be fascinating to see how this does play out going forward with other Clutch players. But Braden Burries, Koa Peat, that worked out pretty well for the U of A. And again, you also can look at Bryce James and say the thing about Bryce that's interesting is he can shoot the three. He's bigger than Bronny already. He's not the athlete, but there's some potential for him to be good. Now, the other two guys we got to talk a little bit about. ADO, I would expect ADO to enter the portal. I like ADO. I like ADO more than most. He's a tough dude. He's a little bit limited. I get all that, but I like ADO. Watching him, you can also see that he's probably a little bit better at St. Mary's level school, but, he can play. And then Dwayne Aristod. Dwayne Aristod is a very, very good basketball player. He's a very good prospect. He had a foot injury. I think you're hoping that he can come in next year and be good. And if he's good, then, you're probably looking at an 8 to 12 minute per game guy. The other one that I would also look at is Uriah Tennant. He is a player from Prescott High School. He's a monster. Uriah can really, really play. I would look for him Arizona possibly offers him as a backup position. He can play. He just got released from San Diego, and he's better than San Diego. He's significantly better than San Diego. He's also a Big 12 caliber guard. I'll be interested to see what Arizona does with him because you can't go into next season with Conrad Martinez as your backup. Now, Conrad played pretty well in his limited minutes. There's no doubt about it. The problem though is that Conrad just isn't good enough to be able to play extended minutes. I think it was a lot of hot air from Tommy Lloyd saying about how, he could see him playing a lot, and no, he can't. He's just not that good. So that is what it is. But either way, very good. Arizona basketball is in a very, very good spot next year. Arizona is a team that you look at a preseason, they're going to be a preseason top 5 to 10 team. The roster is going to be loaded. Tommy Lloyd knows what he's doing. They are looking in the portal. They're figuring out a lot of different things. And Arizona is Arizona's in a very good spot. Now, tomorrow, we're going to be breaking down everything about Braden Burries, what you need to know, what he brings to the program, all of that stuff, because he's going to be He's going to be a good player. I'm excited to see what he can do. But at the same time, you're also watching a team, a coaching staff that knows what they're doing. Big shout out to Jack Murphy, big shout out to TJ Benson, and a big shout out to Tommy Lloyd. But on that note, though, very, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. Locked On, your team every day. And again, we'll be back with you tomorrow talking a little bit of Braden Burries. Talk to you tomorrow. See you later. And again, have a great, great rest of your Tuesday.